I think you're being quite cruel actually to Arsene Wenger because
so if you lot signed Arsenal's,
we signed Gallas.
Yeah, but I mean,
it was great.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Rematch. We got a very good one for you guys today. Arsenal and Spurs, the eternal rivals, in a 4-4 game all the way back in 2008. To join me, I have the return of Turkish and a first timer on the show, Flav. Welcome to the show, guys. Thank you for being here with me.
Pleasure, man.
I'm just happy that you've chosen a game where Spurs actually got something from it.
That was difficult to find one, man.
Sorry, there was another one that year where we won 5-1 at White Lane. Could have done that one.
Oh, look at the memories.
No. We got it on the schedule. Don't worry. We'll see if we call you for that.
I'll be back for that.
Don't call me for that one.
Arsenal 4, Spurs 4. Now, if you're a more recent fan of football, if you've been introduced into the game in the last 5 or 6 years, the idea that Spurs and Arsenal could be such a well-contested game probably seems foreign to you because as historic as these rivals are, I feel like the last few years, it's just become a less and less of a contest. Honestly, I feel like the North London derby has really lost a bit of its fire and it almost feels like a formality when these two teams play. But there was a time, even though Spurs weren't at their best, where it still felt like there was a bit of fire to this game. And I think nothing encapsulates that more than this 4-4. But I think the context is important here. Harry Redknapp managing his second game for Spurs after taking them over, bottom of the league. Flav, if you cast your mind all the way back to 2008, Redknapp coming through the door, what was the feeling around the club? Helplessness? Did you feel like Redknapp could do something and reignite your season?
We were really excited about going into that season, right? We won every pre-season game. Yeah. The last game we played Roma at home. We beat them 5-0. Yeah. We had these new signings, Bentley, Darren Bent, this young Croatian lad called Luka Modric, who we thought he might be all right.
Who?
You know, and the emerging Gareth Bale, right? So we were relatively excited about what might come. And then it started and we were awful. We're so bad. We were bottom of the league and 2 points. And Vande Ramos, who'd previously won us the League Cup, first bit of silverware in ages, had to be sacked. And out of nowhere, I was out on a night out in Camden. And it was announced about 10:30 at night that Redknapp was our manager. And we were like, all right, let's give it a go. We've seen what he's done previously, West Ham, but the style of play was exciting and attacking, and we just wanted anything. And the game before this, we played Bolton, we beat them 2-1, his first game of the season, 2-1. What he said at the time is these players are way too good to be bottom of the league. But the next game is Arsenal away, and you're like, we're not going to get anything from this.
Sounds like they could do with Harry now.
Yeah.
No, it's been mooted. People are going as an interim.
He's about 78 years old right now.
He hasn't managed in 10 years. He wouldn't know what to do with Mickey van der Ven. But people are just like, anything but Thomas Frank. Get Harry back. See what happens. End of season.
Turkish, from Arsenal's point of view, this is your second season at the Emirates. The season prior, actually, third season rather, at the Emirates. The season prior, you guys made a really good attempt at the league, right? At one point, you guys were top of the league. I think the Eduardo injury was, of course, devastating, and the season didn't end the way you wanted. But I think a bit more worryingly was when you looked at the landscape of English football, there was an established Big Four, and Arsenal were 100% part of that Big Four. But it did feel like United were starting to kind of pull away from them. Chelsea were beginning to pull away from them. Liverpool, even with the addition of Fernando Torres, Gerrard, felt like they were making more progress than Arsenal, who had very talented players. But if we go through this 11, it was very top-heavy. You look at the back line, and the only word you can really use here is liability. I mean, I'm going to read this Arsenal lineup for you here. Manuel Almunia.
Do you have to?
Yeah. For the viewers at home, I do. Manuel Almunia in goal. Bakary Sagna, Mikel Silvestre, William Gallas, Gael Clichy. The attack is frightening. Of course, Walcott, Fabregas, Denilson, Nasri, Van Persie, and Adebayor. But there is always that worry, and it's ironic enough that this is the game, that they could score 4 against anybody, but the danger that you could concede 4 to anybody always existed.
Yeah, and we haven't. That was the start of the soft core era, and we haven't managed to shake that off until about 3-4 years ago. Where for a good 15 years, pundits, fans were all talking about Arsenal can be got. They got a soft centre. You stick it on them a little bit, then they're going to crumble. And this is one of the performances and one of the results that led to that, that title being put on us. 4-2 up against Tottenham with a few minutes to go, and we're drawing the game at the Emirates to a Tottenham side that are bottom with a new manager. To a Tottenham side, full stop is enough of a joke. Being an Arsenal fan at that time. that's why I look back at this game and this era, and it was just a realization that we're not that club anymore. And by that club, I mean, you know, Chelsea.
I was gonna say, you have been watching Arsenal for so long now, and you watched them at their pomp. How difficult was it for you that just a few years prior, you guys were invincible? You guys had world-class men in every single position on the pitch. How difficult was it for you to almost have to adapt your mindset that this is what Arsenal were now under Arsene Wenger?
I never adapted. That's why people would tend to say to me, "Hey, listen, it's been 20 years, mate. It's been 15 years, mate." Yeah, because that's what I grew up on. Why should I have to adapt when, listen, we're not here to talk about this, but part of our downfall was a foreign entity coming in, taking over the club and just milking it for every last bit of juice it has left, you know? So why should I adapt to that? That's what I felt like. I just felt like we've been taken from our home, Highbury, into this commercial sphere, Emirates Stadium, wow. But the reality is the soul left us a little bit. And football ain't been the same since for me in terms of what it was like, in terms of feeling back then. And the stadium move was a big part of that. And then results like this, you mentioned, you know, there was a solid top four then, but we made up the bottom of that top four all the time. And that was the problem. I don't care about being solid top four. I don't care about Wenger saying fourth place is a trophy. You know, us being the bottom end of that top four, that's not what I grew up on. And forget what I grew up on. Arsenal were always a 100-year-long history. It's not a history built off a oil billionaire coming in over a 10-year period or a sheikh coming in over a 15-year. It was history built over 100 years, different eras here and there. So I never adapted and never will I adapt to seeing Arsenal in such a place, I'll be real.
What was the form like between Spurs and Arsenal? Like, what was it like going into a derby day between these two sides? Because again, like I said, now it almost feels like a formality before a ball is kicked. But
all right, you keep saying that. Stop saying that.
What was it like back then, though? Was it much different, or did you guys go into these kinds of games still thinking form goes out the window in this kind of game?
I mean, there was to some degree. Don't get me wrong. Every Arsenal fan would have been much more confident than Spurs fans going into this era.
Wasn't this the era where you didn't beat us for? You hadn't beaten us.
That year, first time we beat you, February 2008, was the 5-1, which I mentioned. But before that was a long time. And I remember going into the game much more feeling like, I hope something happens for us. Really hope. Like, let's just, if the footballing gods are real, and surely eventually we'll get something out of these games. So coming into them, I mean, like on paper, we're looking at that, and you know.
Who's the names that stick out on the team sheet for you?
Obviously, Luka Modric. Bear in mind, this wasn't the Luka Modric. Wasn't the Luka Modric that left Spurs, and certainly not the one that became the most decorated Real Madrid player of all time. But you could tell there was a special player in there. Gareth Bale obviously is on there, and he wasn't the Gareth Bale that left for Real Madrid. That came later. Maybe his Champions League season 18 months later under Redknapp was where we knew that there was a great player in there, and he played left wing, which was quite relatively rare for him to do there because he would still have been a fullback. But we knew there was a player in there. No one else knew it. And every time someone asked me about a player to look out for, I'd say, this kid, Gareth Bale, he is unreal. And they're like,
Bitcoin stocks right there.
Mate, If I had any idea. Even when, because he went like 24 games unbeaten without winning a game. Even then, you're like, it ain't him. It's all the others. It's all the others. But no, in terms of the Ben was underrated, but generally quite an average Spurs side. Woodgate aging and Alan Hutton, very average right back and stuff like that. So we had, but the point is, the part of the reason why we were Spurs fans were so angry this season with Thomas Frank is you were getting to the Emirates and we really, really submitted. And that is something you just do not do. Yeah. That's unforgivable. Like if we would have gone out there and got beaten 4-3 but had a go, his stock right now would be higher than it is. Spurs fans walked away from that game and go, that was embarrassingly negative. We had a back five and two midfielders screening a back five against your fiercest rivals. Get beat.
You didn't want me saying it, but it sounds like
but you get beat 4-1 by doing that. Get beat 4-1 having a go.
Yeah.
So that was unforgivable. And why that's unforgivable is in these games we probably didn't have much of a shot, but we made them realise Spurs were there. And that's the bare minimum of a North London derby. That's why you were saying it feels like a bit of a formality these days. The fact that can even be spoken into existence is shameful enough. We should never, ever give them a quarter, even if it means getting beat. And we got beat a lot.
You're saying you were looking for a miracle in this game or something to kind of inspire you guys, and within 13 minutes, I mean, an incredible goal from David Bentley of all people, right? Incredible half volley. I think Turkish here will probably argue that Almunia should get a hand on that, but that kind of summed up Bentley, right? He had an eye for the audacity. He wasn't your typical English player. In that moment right there, are you starting to feel, oh, this could actually be our day if you grab a goal this early on?
Nah, not at 14 minutes.
Too early.
Yeah, way too early. Like, look, I remember another game where Flamini scored within 1 minute, and I was like, that's too early. No, not at that stage. But you're completely and utterly mesmerised by what you've seen. Almunia will take a lot of criticism from you for sure, Turkish, and I understand it. But the audacity to even think of and do that in the Premier League was what made it so great at that time. Like, you had players that were willing to do that. Like, do you imagine Pep Guardiola allowing it just wouldn't?
I mean, that's what I asked you, right? When we were watching the replay earlier on, I said, is there even players in the Premier League who would even attempt something like that? They're probably receiving it, scanning, and then going wide to their fullback.
Probably not. Yeah, you're right, and that's a shame, right? Because we're still talking about that goal, and it's nearly near on 20 years later. It will soon be anyway. But that was the kind of player that David Bentley was. He could only exist in that era, in those type of games. In the modern era, and as you know, because he retired at 28, the football moved on from players like David Bentley. But he created magic moments like that, and not least against his former club, and in a North London derby. Yeah, it was incredible.
Talk to me about Almunia, because he's one of the main characters of this movie today. Honestly,
he is. He's one of the main characters of our downfall. If I'm honest with you, ours, Wenger's, whichever way you want to look at it. Talk about this goal. Listen, Flav's right. For a player to try that, shows something. For a player to not only try it, but put it in the back of the net shows something else. But when you look at where Almunia is positioned, and when you look at the mistakes he was making in and around that time, number one, why was he our goalkeeper? And number two, we might even argue this wasn't his worst mistake in this game.
Yeah, arguably not.
For a goalkeeper, you need a presence, right? Yeah. You know better than anyone in this league. You've had three of the greatest goalkeepers.
Also had one of the worst as well too.
Yeah, you have. So you know both sides of it. But a keeper's presence, in my opinion,
100%.
is so important.
Especially going from Jens Lehmann, David Seaman before that, to then go into this scrawny Spaniard. And then you even look at what came after him, Fabianski, right? Yeah. It did feel like that almost summed up Arsenal's demise. You're going from Jens Lehmann, big burly German, to Manuel Almunia, who barely even fits his shirt.
I know Arteta joined not long after this to slot into that midfield, but do you think he kind of was downloading information even then? Because he had, in recent times, he had Ramsdale, and then he was just like, this guy's all right, but Ray is there. Yeah. I'm not going to... The opportunity to find goalkeepers is so difficult to find the right one. Now Almunia is clearly like the weak link. It wasn't just this game. He was woeful.
Do you remember even the Cristiano Ronaldo free kick at the Champions League from near halfway line?
That was this season.
It is, yeah. Like 08-09. It's an amazing free kick, and then you see Almunia is being beat by from halfway.
With Barcelona as well. There was Barcelona against Almunia as well.
What, the Champions League final?
Did he play in that?
There's so Almunia's episode.
There's so many.
He's got too many. I can't believe Wenger trusted in him for so long. It just typified that, Emirates era Wenger, just trusting and having too much faith in players that were never going to cut it. And when your number one is one of those players, I mean, the rest of the team stand very little chance to achieve greatness, because your number one has to be that cooling presence, calming presence, but also that boss presence, because he can see everything in front of him. Right. And Almunia was none of those things. His entry point was a Champions League final 20 minutes where he scored an own goal. That Belletti one was going for a throw-in. He scored an own goal. Modern VAR would have said that's an own goal. And Eto'o was also near post. I'm sorry, keepers being beaten at the near post is a big thing, right? Twice in the Champions League final. Get out of here. That era... I've only just come over it, so there's still a bit of emotion here. We ain't won anything.
I can hear it.
So. There's even that one against Liverpool as well. Was it Ngog or someone was shooting and he was on one side of his goal completely?
There's one in this game. We're going to see it in a second.
Yeah, man. Just calamities. You know what is very rare from this Arsenal team, though, is center backs rising for set pieces and scoring goals. I feel like we're in 2025 right now, but Mikel Silvestre gets Arsenal back into the game. Again, Silvestre probably towards the end of his career, discarded by Man United at that point, but gets you back in the game. Pretty good header as well too, I would say.
Yes. Pardon me here though, I take myself out of that moment, because again, I'm disgusted that Silvestre played for us. You lot got to think where we came from at this point. Fighting with Man United year in, year out. Wenger, Ferguson, and we signed their old defender that they didn't need anymore.
There was economic issues at Arsenal at the time, though, weren't there? Because you were paying for the stadium. Wenger had to do a lot of heavy. I think you're being quite cruel actually to Arsene Wenger. Because
so if you lot signed Arsenal's,
we signed Gallas.
Yeah, but I mean,
it was great. I loved it.
Gallas is a bit. Gallas is he was swings and roundabouts all over the gaff. But let's say we've got an age. It's a bit different because we're never fighting for anything. But we was fighting them for titles.
But what I would say though is, if you think of the situation that Arsenal find themselves in, they're having to pay for the stadium.
Go sign an 18-year-old from Lorient, not Mikel Silvestre from Man United. Go sign a 17-year-old from Paraguay. Why are you signing the opposition?
That was always the interesting thing for me with Wenger as well too, because there was a lot of investment in the forward areas, right? You went and signed Arshavin from Zenit at that point, but it was always the same defender. You're always playing Giroud back there. You're always playing Fabianski. I'm like, why are you not investing in the back line? That's clearly Arsenal's weak point.
I mean, there's this common rhetoric that he didn't know how to build a great defence, even though he brought in Sol Campbell, he brought in Colo, he inherited that whole Adams era, the bold Martin Keown era, and he just never failed to replace a Sol Campbell. He failed to replace a Colo Touré. We're talking about Silvestre. We can easily move on to Gallas. I'm equally as disgusted he played for us.
Wearing the armband in number 10.
If we go through this lineup here,
outrageous.
You don't need to hear Flav's opinion of all these players. I'll do enough damage to most of those.
Yeah, I'm surprised. This is great.
Silvestre and Gallas were our centre-back pairing.
When you look at it, Silvestre and Gallas are definitely the weak link there. You kind of... Gal Clichy went in to play for Manchester City.
If you ignore the goalkeeper.
Yeah, well, that is quite important, that triangle, right? Of the centre-backs and the...
What a triangle.
The Bermuda Triangle in the wrong way, man.
We've come a long way to where we are now.
Sanga was all right.
No, Sanya and Clichy...
they're decent, they're solid.
I think they were good. I really like Sanya in particular. And they both went on to achieve greatness with Man City. They both won titles.
It's weird. I feel like I'm defending Arsenal.
So I even look at those two fullbacks. I liked them at the time.
Yeah.
Now they went to the Ops and won.
Yeah.
So I couldn't care less about either.
Fair.
For exclusive acquisition offers, free bets and much more, download the Betway app today. Full terms apply. Bet the responsible way.
It's so funny too because he's slating them. They're the ones that score the first and second goal for Arsenal.
I can't help it. I look at these names and I think this was a time where I was falling out of love with football. It was still a bit early, but this was the time I was realising Arsenal not that club, and a few years after falling out of love.
It's very thick and thin, Turkish. You can't just love them now because you're top of the league and everything's great.
No.
This is what I demand. This is what
it is thick and thin, but you don't sign opposition. How to this day you're damaged by Sol Campbell joining us. To this day.
You can tell there's PTSD
and that wasn't
too.
your choice. We made choices along this era, including the best player on this pitch we sold to Man United a few years later. So when I look at all these names in the starting 11, bar one guaranteed, maybe two, every other name I could slander slate here. And
you're saying all that, right? We managed to draw this game. How many players out of Spurs' 11 there do you actually take across?
What,
at
that moment?
None of them.
No, you take Modric for Denilson.
Yeah,
I don't think you know that at the time, but maybe.
Denilson was a decent. Well, it was a big. He was a big prospect at that point, right?
He was, but he never kicked on.
I
really.
think
so you're saying all that, but all our players are worse than yours.
Yeah, Gomes Almunia is a coin flip, I think.
Gomez is useless. You're talking about how bad he was.
You got Woodgate from Real Madrid, no?
Broken.
He was broken
woman.
Well, so Gallas and Silvestre weren't broken. Oh my God, they were shattered.
Woodgate
two clowns fighting. You
broken.
guys seen that meme? Two clowns fighting.
Gallas was crying on the pitch in February that year.
I remember that.
Yeah. Wasn't that a broken
saying
man?
that I was seeing Luca in tears against Stoke.
Swings and roundabouts.
Gomez actually literally had someone to calm him down because he couldn't cope with the amount of crosses coming in from Stoke. The pressure, he was in tears.
I'll tell you what, Tom Huddleston instead of Denilson.
Of all the players, Tom Huddleston.
Tom Huddleston was better than Denilson.
He could strike a ball, Tom Huddleston. We'll talk about him in a second because he obviously had a big part.
Just because we're slagging off Almunia, right? Gomes was also responsible for both Arsenal goals. The header from Gallas he should have got to, and the header from Silvestre should have got to.
Potentially.
No.
So what, you're giving your Arsenal players credit? I don't. Bentley barely gets credit for.
I can't believe what we're watching on this. These guys are arguing their own players between themselves. Not my goalkeeper was working.
Gallas buried it bottom corner and Silvestre got ahead of him.
It was a difficult era.
It was.
Let's talk about Gallas because he scored the second.
Yeah.
That decision to hand him the number 10. Who the hell is responsible for that?
Yeah, that is mental. Yeah.
And I'm going to continue
captain.
moaning
And the
and being
captain.
negative now. And the comments are going to
But this one is warranted.
That's where it started. You know when we signed Gallas, and you might
He was
know.
decent at Chelsea though, huh?
That's what I'm saying. When we signed Gallas, I wasn't completely against it. I was upset at losing Ashley Cole, but I thought, well, we're getting a Premier League winning centre back here, year on back to back. He won Premier League
And fullback he played as well.
So I thought, all right, this is unfortunate, but we're losing Ashley. We're getting Gallas. Okay, cool. We made the best of a bad situation, right? Then we give him the 10. And now we have the beauty of hindsight.
What is the story about him having the number 10?
Why did he get the number 10?
How did that happen?
Bergkamp, he took Bergkamp's number.
He's got Gallas has an ego, right? So
Right,
he
of course he
wanted
does.
that shirt, and Wenger, I mean, in the Emirates era, lacked a lot of balls and gave into a lot of players. From giving Gallas the number 10 shirt to giving Walcott captaincy in his 1000th game or whatever game it was against Chelsea when we got smoked.
Yeah.
Wenger used to do these little things, nice things, that in the end never materialised to anything. So Gallas getting the number 10, disgusted by that because Bergkamp, I'm using the word disgusted quite a lot today, but Bergkamp is an absolute legend of football, not just the Premier League, not just Arsenal. In terms of the number 10, you'll struggle to find more than 2 10s that suit what a 10 is, more so than Dennis Bergkamp. And then we gave it to William Gallas. Like, what nonsense is
Struggle
that?
to find 2 players who represent 10 less than Gallas.
Yeah, struggle,
I've never seen a centre back 10 ever.
Never, ever, honestly.
And he was okay that year, 07, 08, we was on a title charge and then it all crumbled. Even when he was crying on the pitch, there was a certain part of me that understood, because we had players in that team that didn't deserve to be in that team, and we had a massive chance that even though there was a big injury to Eduardo, I still feel the chance should have been taken from where we was. So I kind of understood in the moment, but then what that moment became was the moment that curtailed everything that season. Yeah. So again, in hindsight, beautiful thing. I look back and I don't give a damn if he scored against Tottenham or not. Like, it's not an era or player I want to look back on and enjoy.
And then he came to Spurs.
Yeah.
What do you think of Gallas?
Not a great deal.
Completed the set. What number did he get for you?
10. No.
13, I think it was.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
how do you remember all this stuff? That is ridiculous.
Tapped, man.
You're right. Okay.
That's why he's here in the hosting chair.
He did get us through a game against Aston Villa, AC Milan.
Yeah.
He cleared off the line and we went through 1-0.
That's when Gattuso was fighting with your...
That's right,
Jordan.
Joe Jordan.
I watched that game though.
Fair enough. How old are you?
Huh? 27.
Jesus, man,
Crouch.
fair.
I remember that game. Come on, man.
If you know you remember the name of our assistant manager is
Joe
something
Jordan,
else. Class.
What was I gonna say? I hate to keep bringing players that you don't like remembering, but the third goal gets scored by Emmanuel Adebayor.
Let's go through all of them, bro. Let's do it now, and then
See, I'm quite fond of Adebayor.
I like Emmanuel Adebayor, maybe because he never had anything to do with my club, but as an outsider who just could appreciate him for the footballer, I thought he was really, really good.
So I know that you should feel how you feel about Adebayor, right? He's a scumbag for your sake.
Yeah.
Absolutely did terrible things. I remember as a Spurs fan when he would turn up, and I was terrified of how he could damage us. His physicality, his vision, but he's just in front of goal. He was just
technical as well.
Technical, just lethal.
Remember that chest and then the turn and volley.
Yeah,
That was against you guys.
Yeah, it was. I was at that game, and it just flew into the net, and it was right in front of me. And you're just like, the game that we played that year when I've mentioned it a couple of times, 5-1. Adebayor came on and scored, and it was like when he came on, I was like, "Oh shit, we're 4-0 up, but I'm worried now," kind of thing. So yeah, he signed an absolute gem.
I think that was Wenger's strength, to be honest. Going and finding those little gems in France. I think they signed him. Diaby, to be fair, never ended well.
Should have had a great career.
Is Nasri. He just found and had a knack of finding the next up and coming. Adebayor scared me, man. Honestly, like I think if it wasn't for his temperament, I think you would have been looking at one of the best strikers in the Premier League era at that point. Like I think he was maybe he led to his own demise towards the end. But honestly, when he was on it,
he was massive for us the season before. I think that was his 20-goal season.
Yeah,
but you didn't support him.
6 months into scoring goals for us, he's flirting with AC Milan. 6 months. January, whatever year it was, he's flirting with AC Milan. You've only been bagging for 6 months, mate. We've come from Henry just a couple of years ago. You want to flirt? jump into bed with them. I'm not, at that time I was still very much reeling off our greatness. Little did I know that after Adebayor, we probably wouldn't get a striker of that quality again. I mean, Van Persie was with us at the time. So in terms of strikers coming in, since Adebayor...
You guys, Chamak, Park Chu-young.
Can you help me?
Who's the best striker after that?
I mean, since Adebayor, who's the best striker to come into Arsenal Football Club?
It might be Aubameyang. I'm genuinely
It is
because I'm not going to say Giroud as an elite striker. Yeah, Aubameyang,
Yeah, so, little did I know that after him, we'd go through many years of struggling to find strikers, trying to make Chamak and Bentner work. So, okay, in hindsight, it was a terrible loss for us because we never recovered in the striking department. But
still not that good at signing strikers, are you? Weirdly.
I mean, now we don't even want a striker, it seems. So I don't even know what's going on.
Is possibly one of the worst number. No, anyway, it's not about that, is it?
I mean, Muani ain't got no goals at the time of recording either, so there's a competition.
He's a low signing, though. Don't worry about him.
It's the worst competition of all time, by the way.
There's a few strikers in that race. The race to
Don't
zero.
bring up Sesko. I might be the best of you guys right now.
But Adebayor then goes to City and does what he does. So how can I remember him for anything more than what he did against us? And I understand his reasons for it. I don't care about his reasons for it. His reasons are justified for himself. I'm an Arsenal fan. What he did was in a time where we were struggling to get to terms with we're not that club. He goes and celebrates the full pitch and knee slides in front of us. It was a painful moment for us, but from his perspective, I understand it. From ours, I'd never forgive the guy.
Oh, it was one of the greatest Premier League moments of all time. Look
at what I've done for Tottenham fans.
Loved it.
That's why they
just
signed
in that moment. I was like, sign him.
Spurs through and through.
But you think you had? I know I can understand Turkish and appreciate and sympathise completely about how you feel about him. But we had Roman Pavlyuchenko leading our line.
Yeah.
Right.
He was capable of a little bit every once in a while.
Yeah. I mean, I think he was there for 2 years and didn't speak English by the time he left, which is what is fine. But you got Harry Redknapp as your manager. There's going to be a little bit of style clash in this season. Actually, he was. There was a thing that came out where Pavlyuchenko, through his translator, said, "What do you want me to do, boss?" And he goes, "What do you mean? What do you want me to do?" But as he was being subbed on, he goes, just famously, just effing run around a bit. Goes, "What do you want me to just go out and play?" Which is Redknapp's style, which is probably why if he came back to Spurs this season, it wouldn't work because they're used to having very strict instructions about what they have to do on the pitch. But yeah, we had no shot going into this game really. If you look at it on paper, and the fact that we managed to get a point out of it. We long since remember this game.
But 3-1 down at the Emirates, you're probably thinking to yourself, okay,
Absolutely.
let's just pack it up.
I've been here before.
Yeah.
Right, I know. We've been there this season. Right,
Yeah.
I know how it feels. Luckily, as you get to like my age and have experienced so much devastation against Arsenal that it kind of doesn't really hurt anymore. And you've turned on, like your brain sort of feels numb. So 3-1 then hurt a lot more than 3-1 now.
Yeah.
But you thought it was done and dusted. 3-1.
Should have been. We was all over them.
And then the Almunia experience again.
I mean, when you got when you got liabilities all over the pitch, then yeah.
But we had liabilities all over the pitch. You didn't.
But I think that's the beauty of football. Sometimes you just have two bang average teams, and it just turns into a classic. Honestly, chaos.
We were literally bottom of the league.
You had liabilities, but I guess for Tottenham, this game and a lot of those players is a chance to be in the headlines, is a chance to stand up.
Kind of had nothing to lose going into it.
To be noticed. Whereas the players that were playing for Arsenal, most of them didn't deserve to be playing for Arsenal. So they didn't really have that. I get what you're saying because you had a lot of liabilities there, but you showed fight, heart in this game that we struggled to show across that era at times.
Well, when the fight and the heart thing is really important, right? Because it just, if you're not good enough, then let's at least see that. Yeah. But obviously we pulled a goal back, didn't we?
Darren Ben, yeah,
that's right.
And he was a big money signing for you guys that summer. Why did it never work out for Ben at Spurs?
Well, it kind of went wrong when Redknapp said that his wife could have scored the goal he missed, and I think it was against Blackburn. He missed a header from like 3 yards. And he went wide, and like Darren Bent, no one knew this at the time, but was a very sensitive individual and didn't take kindly to that comment at all and sulked. And eventually, we bought a player that was prolific for Charlton, for Ipswich before that. Really, really good striker. But when he signed for Spurs, he never really got a fair crack of the whip. To be fair, it was back in the era. It was 4-4-2. You had four strikers playing that they were competing, and he just wasn't fancied as he didn't start that game. So he got us back into it for sure, but then what happened directly after that, like a minute later, wasn't it, or something like that?
Yeah, it was. It was Arsenal again grabbing a fourth, and again, trying to put distance between the two of you guys. This time it was Robin van Persie, who actually played a fantastic game this game, right? Grabbing the two assists off those free kicks and then adding it, just an emphatic finish off his right. You were saying it was reminiscent of the game against Chelsea.
Yeah, the hat-trick
where
goal.
he had that near post, just roof of the net outswinger. Van Persie, man. I think at this point we're still looking at Van Persie as, what is he, right? Is he a 9? Is he a 10? Does he play out wide?
Yeah.
But I don't think anyone could ever question the quality, even at this point in his career.
Listen, I'm going to put my I'm not going to call it hate, but my real opinions of him aside because of the way he left us and who he left us for. Van Persie, in my honest opinion, injuries curtailed what could have been a legendary career. I think.
Where does he rank, like in terms of Arsene Wenger's signings? Is he high?
Once say on the signings, I'd say behind the R9 Henry level of strikers, right? You'd probably go to Suarez, Benzema, Lewandowski, right? Van Persie should be with them lot, but because he didn't do it as consistently as them lot, he doesn't get mentioned as much.
I completely agree.
He had him and Falcao for a year or two. Yeah. They was generational strikers, and not just for putting the ball in the back of the net. They just had a bit about them outside the box. They could beat a player. They could bend it top bins. They could rifle it with
took
their
corners
weaker
and free
foot.
kicks, man. Yeah.
You said 2 assists. I mean, the Adebayor goal, that was his best assist. That wasn't an assist because Nasri dinked it. That through ball that Van Persie gave from his own half into Nasri, that doesn't go down.
Van Persie had the most assists in the league this season.
Van Persie was special, and that's why it hurt so much what happened, because when he finally had a couple seasons and we all saw how special he was, he bounced. And a lot of that doesn't go down on him. The stories come out after, but Van Persie was the best player on this pitch without a shadow of a doubt. And to be honest with you, I'd include everyone on that pitch in their prime, and that includes Bale and Modric. I think Van Persie in his prime. It sounds silly to say now, but Van Persie in his prime. It sounds silly because we didn't get more than 2 years, 3 years of Van Persie, but in his prime, I wouldn't argue if you said Modric.
No, of course I'm going to say Modric.
No, I get that. I wouldn't argue. But Van Persie gets underrated in these things because...
everybody would say Modric.
Yeah, because it's the easy answer.
Because it's the right answer.
I mean, I don't know.
He's the most decorated player in the history of Real Madrid.
Oh, he is, but I mean...
I'm not
whoever
saying
played
that,
in that era is quite decorated. Let's get that right.
I'd say Gareth Bale was clear of
There's
him.
not many examples out there of a manager saying, let me buy him because he's going to give us the league. Give me more examples of that in football. And we've been watching football a long time. Give me more examples of a manager saying he's going to come in and win us the league. Van Persie did that with 30 goals, a hat-trick, a volley over the shoulder from outside the box, in off the post. Some of his goals.
I respect what you're saying.
I don't think you do.
No, of course I respect everything.
I'm just observing.
I respect what you're saying. I do. I just think it might be a little bit biased.
We'll see what the comments are saying when it gets
Yeah,
clipped.
you might be
what
getting
do you
cooked.
think?
Look, Van Persie was my favorite player for Man. Like when he was at Man United, it was a short time, but I can remember I had his poster in my room. I had his shirt. I had a scarf. My wallpaper was Van Persie. I have tweets wishing Van Persie Happy New Year. He was my guy. Like honestly, and the fact that I had my best friend back in the day was an Arsenal fan, it was like, wow, we just took their guy. And this is back when I'm in New York. I don't have Arsenal fans all around me, but I have to say, Luka Modric, man. I think he sits in a pantheon of midfielders. Like for me, look, Gareth Bale. I think it's closer. Even though you could still give the edge to Bale, because I think you could argue Bale's peak came those final years at Spurs. And in that period, they were contesting for PFA Player of the Year. I think you could say Bale because of what he went on to achieve. Guys, I would say Modric though is like.
Can I just say categorically, I could not care less. Right? They didn't do this with Spurs. They left us.
Well, he didn't do it for Arsenal either.
Definitely didn't. Yeah, right.
I feel about how you feel about Van Persie, like Modric. Like he's left us. Like
not the same. I mean,
not quite the same.
You guys are flexing other guys' cash, by the way, right? You're flexing other guys' wallets right now.
Exactly.
How much money that guy?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Now Van Persie.
I'm not proud. I'm not proud of that.
If Van Persie had 6 consistent seasons, just 6, then I think we'd be talking about him.
I think the level of striker he was. I got into a big thing with Ian Wright about who was better, him or Harry Kane. I said we'll bring another one, and I said Kane. Obviously, his time in the Premier League exceeds Van Persie's. But for me, Van Persie at his absolute best, I think, is up there with a lot of strikers that you might not think he should be with.
Not Kane though.
Oh, Van Persie's better than Kane.
Hey,
No.
And again, I don't care. He left us. I don't care.
like Van Persie. He left for Man United.
He scored
by the way.
30 goals a season. He was incredible playmaker. Like, I think it's a lot closer than at his best. I know he doesn't have the longevity to stack up the Kanes, but Van
prime
Persie
for
at his
prime.
best. I don't know. Like,
Best
he
season for
was
best
a PFA
season.
Player of the Year. He was a top scorer. He was a top. I don't really know what. It's just he didn't do it for long enough. That's really what it's
Best season for best season. That makes the argument. You can understand it a lot more because you can't, like he said with Kane, the longevity. I mean,
there's a respect to do it year in, year out. Van Persie could never do that. But just for a 2-3 year period, I think Van Persie can chat to a lot of strikers, man.
100%.
That's where I said on that.
And you know what works against him and Bale a bit as well in this whole debate. Modric, I get and I understand, and maybe you're right about that. But Modric is a legend at a club, right? Bale and Van Persie are not legends at any clubs because of the way they maneuvered their careers. So they don't have a fan base that argues wholeheartedly for them.
Yeah.
Even me doing it now, I feel kind of sick.
Van Persie, people ask, is he a United legend? I'm like, didn't do it for long enough. Yeah.
I mean, he came and won you the title, but you've had Rooney, Tevez.
He's in a weird
Berbatov,
situation. He
Andy
was good
Cole.
he was peak for 1 year.
Yeah. So that works against Bale, works against Van Persie. They're not legends at any club, but they're legends of football.
Agreed.
We got there, yeah.
At 4-2, you think it's Arsenal's game, and yet again, Spurs just keep.
Well, you saw
probing.
the away end, right?
Yeah.
You saw away end.
It was empty.
Yeah, but there's nothing worse than being in that stadium and being surrounded by Arsenal fans and watching them celebrate. I don't even like going to North London derby, having to be around as many of them celebrating and happy, and that's a terrible place to be. So to be at the end of a game knowing it's over and then you've got to listen to all the singing and stuff, it's just like it's completely understandable to have left. My brother was there. My brother was at the game and he'd left at 4-2, and they pulled a goal back, but he'd too far gone by that point, and he'd reached the Tottenham Arms. You know, Tottenham Arms in so he used to live around there, right? And the Tottenham Arms were my local when Arsenal weren't playing. And he was looking through the window and he saw. Eventually, when we got the equalizer, Lennon, and he started screaming and shouting, and all the Arsenal fans saw him and come out the pub and chased him down the road. That's how jubilant we were. But yeah, no shot. Absolutely, it felt like 4-3 consolation. You kind of head held high. We give it a go. No way we get a fourth.
And then you do.
Then we do.
Yeah, they do. First of many games we bottled.
Yeah.
There's nothing like that. There's no sickening, like losing's worse, right? But there's that sickening feeling of not only have you thrown away points, it's bad enough if it happened against a team that you don't consider a rival, but in that moment, just to get a point feels like you've won. And just an unbelievable moment because Modric takes a shot, it comes a deflection off Gallas or Silvestre, I'm not sure who, off the post, and then Aaron Lennon, who come off the bench, puts it in the net, and you're like, dreamland. Incredible feeling.
Does this almost like encapsulate like this result and this comeback? Wenger's Arsenal at this point in one way, but also Redknapp's Spurs in terms of him coming in. It did feel like there was a bit of resilience added. It did feel like there was this spirit with the team now that no matter what, they were always in it. You know what I mean?
Well, we didn't realise really what we had at the time.
Yeah,
like,
it was only the second game, right?
Yeah, so we didn't know what we had with Redknapp. We certainly didn't know the talent we had in this side and what Gareth Bale would become, and moreover what Luka Modric would become. Luka Modric remains the best player I've ever seen at Spurs. Like, I'm not saying he was as influential as has many moments as Gareth Bale or Harry Kane does, but as a technical footballer, you know how good he was at Real Madrid. I saw it with my own eyes, and he was half the player he was then. That's how good this kid was. And Redknapp didn't even know what to do with him. Even now, he was playing in midfield.
He used to play him on the left, right? I remember he used to come off the left.
So we had a 4-4-1-1. So we had a 10, and he would play Modric on the left. And Redknapp had a lot to say and do about getting the most out of these players, because it was him who wanted to push Gareth Bale forward. It was him that believed that Modric, despite his size, could compete in the Premier League in the midfield. None of us did, and it was also Redknapp who allowed Gareth Bale to play centrally as well. Yeah. When you saw him playing as an attacking 10 or even as a 9 at the time. So yeah, from this point we really started to build into something that was, interesting and entertaining, and eventually a lot of these players played for us in the 2010 Champions League.
What's the moment of the game for you guys that kind of encapsulates this match?
Moment of the game. Has to be for you guys because you come back.
Because we come back. It's the moment Modric hits that ball. Yeah. That for me when I think about this game, it's that moment. Because obviously we know it leads to the goal, but it needed something special, moment, and just I can sort of see in my mind's eye the shape of Modric as he hits it. It would be that, I think.
Is there a moment you guys may have forgotten when watching this game back? Something that stuck out?
How bad Almunia was? How bad the goalkeepers were? I don't know.
I mean, that stood out every game, so it's hard to pull that one out of this one here.
I think the standard of the football, I would say, is much better now.
I loved it then.
No, I'm not saying it's as a spectacle, much more interesting. Much more interesting.
The big 6 games nowadays are so terrible, and it's
that's what back then, like in 2008, they're much more exciting and accessible.
Yeah. Cool.
Now it's much more because of mainly because of Pep Guardiola and how he's
tactics and
changed everything, and everyone's got the individual, the flair. Mercurial players are not allowed to exist in this modern era.
Risk taking. And there was a lot of risk taken in that game, whether it's Modric's shot or whether it's Van Persie's through ball from.
I was going to say, we always like to say, what's the most 2008 part of this game? Or it's definitely the Bentley shot, him shooting from where he did. Yeah, that is that era.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
those goals were reactive. They were reacting to what's around them, and they were allowed space and room to be personalities and try and make something happen. Yeah. It wasn't triangles and then get to the line. I'm risk of sounding old and gammon about it, right? But it wasn't about invading space, or it was carving out opportunities and not shooting from outside the box. Like Thomas Frank would genuinely never see one of his players shoot from outside the box, because he would argue, and he probably has a legitimate point here, is that it's a low percentage chance. But it's the lifeblood of the game. That's what we want to see, the ball fly in the net from 30 yards.
Yeah, exactly.
So it was full of that, and football was full of that. And what Arsene Wenger and Alex Ferguson and Mourinho, what they did is harness that mayhem and create something, teams that could be effective in it.
Yeah.
So Redknapp could never survive in the modern era, but back then he was one of the best. So, certainly one of the best Tottenham managers.
I still hope that it balances out a little bit. They say football swings and roundabouts. So I do hope 10, 20 years, whenever it is, that we get some of this back. I don't know how it happens, because I
never thought I'd see a Premier League where long throws and corner kicks would return. Tony Pulis is smiling somewhere.
But that was a thing in the area we're talking about, which in my opinion was the greatest era. That was a big thing there, because that was a certain select level of teams' way of going about games in the big ones. How would you deal with that? Everyone was doing something different to an extent. Now, 100%. Everyone's trying to do what he's doing.
Yeah, you're right. It did feel like back then, every team had their own way of going about it, right? 100%. Like you played Stoke, they had the throw-ins. You played Portsmouth, they had the big striker up front with a little technical midfield. It felt like every team had their own identity.
100%.
Whereas now, it's like everyone's just trying to do a watered-down version of what the top guy is doing, right?
Yeah, football suffering.
Yeah. Who was your man of the match of this game?
Not Almunia.
I hope Almunia's not watching this for his own sake.
I hope he is watching this. If you lot can get me and Almunia in this seat, and maybe Van Persie, we would have a good conversation.
I think it's gonna turn into a boxing fight.
Just put us opposite ends. But man of the match, I mean, I'll pass this one to you, because we can't have a man of the match drawing at home.
Not Van Persie.
It'd be hard.
It would be. It would be.
It'd be unfair to not pick an art. If you look at the statistics of the game, the amount of chances
it would be Van
Arsenal
Persie.
You had like nearly 70% possession. Yeah. To choose a Spurs player, I would choose Luka Modric, but I don't think the vast majority of people watching it wouldn't be. So, Van Persie or Fabregas or something like that.
Maybe an unsung hero of the match. Anyone who
Gallas,
went under the radar.
Probably Billy Gallas.
Unsung hero. Yeah, give it to Modric, man. That shot and turn. That opened it up for Tottenham. So
what's the biggest effect that this match had on either team? Maybe Arsenal didn't affect them that much, but for Spurs, did this feel like the catalyst for the Redknapp revolution?
Yeah, it felt like what was potentially a relegation-threatened season that we could suddenly look up. Beating Bolton at home the week before was important, because you're up and running and you've won your first game of the season on week 9. But to go to away against Arsenal, despite your misgivings, they were still a decent side. And, you didn't go to the Emirates, and not many teams went to Arsenal and won even then. So the fact that we got a point, it felt like we could start to look forward and upwards. And turned out to be true.
You guys finished mid-table that season, right?
Yeah.
And the next season finished 4th.
Yes.
Yeah. Wow. Could you have imagined finishing 4th at the time of Redknapp's appointment?
So that, I mean, this is, it's about perspective and relative. It's about what is success. And what, at the time, Arsene Wenger said 4th is a trophy. And Arsenal fans are apoplectic about that for good reason, because it isn't, right? But we finished 4th with a lot of these players going away to Manchester City. This is
Crouch,
Crouch, Kabul down the right. This is the oil baron Manchester City as well.
They were chasing top 4 that year. That was their first year, really. Yeah.
Whoever won that game would have got 4th, and and we got there, and that was a special night. That I can still see the Spurs end, the limbs in the Spurs end were just insane. But that was all down to Redknapp. And that was down to the belief he got in these players. And it wasn't tactics. He says to this day, and talking to the point about what was special about this era, 2008, is that he went in there and he went like, it's all about the players you have. Yeah. In the modern era, it ain't, right?
The manager is now,
And now it's just like, just go play with freedom. Like, you got Gareth Bale, unleash him, let him go.
Yeah. For exclusive acquisition offers, free bets and much more, download the Betway app today. Full terms apply. Bet the responsible way.
This must have been a result as well too for the Spurs players, that just in terms of having faith in your manager, having faith in what he's trying to sell you. This result must go such a long way in doing so.
Yeah, and it wasn't difficult because they all hated Juan de Ramos, right? And then you've got like a really affable sort of chap and Harry Redknapp, who is going to put your arm around you, and players like Woodgate and Bentley, Jermaine Genius, Huddleston, they were all known about Harry Redknapp and his style beforehand. So yeah, it was the start of something that was very enjoyable, much more enjoyable than the modern day anyway.
What made the North London derby so special at this point, right? Again, I hate to keep bringing it back to today, but like it does feel like the spark is gone. What made it so special these two teams?
So what do you mean by spark is gone?
I just feel like, honestly, it almost feels like one team only really takes it seriously. Like, it doesn't feel like Spurs go into this game anymore.
Seriously? Come on.
No, I honestly feel that way.
Take it seriously. It doesn't mean we're going to win.
But with all due respect, when I watch how Thomas Frank and his team were set up this season, it felt like they just went in there for damage limitation.
Yeah.
Whereas in a game like this, Spurs went to try and get a result of this game. You see what I mean when I say that?
Yeah, I do. And I think that anybody going to the Emirates this season, there's an element of damage limitation.
But I feel like that's been the case now for the last 2 or 3 seasons. I know you got a draw a few years ago, but I don't feel like Spurs have really competed in this game. The
last time would have been under Conte.
But before this game, it was the same story. This was like a catalyst for change in terms of the North London derby.
To be fair, a few years later, you guys would go on and beat them.
You then beat us later on that season, and then the results over the next maybe 10, 11, you then started finishing above us a few years.
But even under Redknapp, you beat them at the Emirates with Kabul at the end.
That's right.
So I feel like it started to get at least competitive. Even if you were not winning the games, it felt competitive at least.
Well, then there was AVB, which was a bit of a difficult sort of period, but then Pochettino arrived, and that's when the sort of shift in North London happened.
You asked him about the impact on Tottenham more so than Arsenal. I think this maybe didn't have the impact I'm about to say it had, but it was part of that process. We mentioned Gallas crying midway February the season before. I think that was the first. You know how we've got this.
For those that don't know, why was he crying? Because
Birmingham City, we dropped points, and Eduardo had that horrific leg break, and it just felt like we're going to lose it from here.
That was in February, by the way.
Even though we had everything to play for.
Was he crying because of the injury, or was he just crying because
it just looked like he knew that it's over, but it wasn't over. That was the problem. That was the problem. So I think that was the first bottle that led us to modern day, where everyone calls Arsenal bottlers, right? This game here was a game where you're 4-2 up, you expect to win. Yep. After a season where we got back to challenging, because after 03-04, we finished fourth, we finished second 04-05, fourth 05-06. That was the last day of the season. Fourth 06-07, and then we had not a title challenge, but it kind of floundered halfway through, but it was our best season since we won the league. So this season that we played Tottenham, it was set up for, can we kick on now? We lost Heleb in the summer, but we bought Nasri in. We bought Arshavin in January shortly after this. But in this game in isolation, we bottled a 2-goal lead to a Tottenham side that we'd have our way with over the years gone before that. So I think it started to creep in that whole soft core. And when you talk something into existence, sometimes it becomes real. And that's what it became with us. After this game, we had many games where you could say it's like the Tottenham game, the Newcastle one, even the Chelsea one where it wasn't a big margin, but SCN last minute, gets a goal from outside the box. It just felt like everything was going against us, but at the same time, we wasn't fighting for it back. We were just, succumbing to it all. So I think this era and this result had an impact on us moving forward that we've only managed to shake off with Arteta 3-4 years ago. I feel like I've moaned a bit too much on this. Yeah, so I'm gonna.
I don't think you have.
I could moan more. We've left out a few players. Nasri went to he done it, but Fabregas is the player that I look at this side, and I'll always have love for him.
Even though he went to Chelsea,
it wasn't his fault.
I agree. I just wanted to hear it from you.
And that's partly why I doubled down on the Wenger stuff, because not only did he lose his way, but he had moments like the Fabregas moment where he could bring. That was the original star boy. You could bring the star boy back.
I think he had too much pride in that situation. He should have dropped his pride and let him.
But he left with egg on his face, because too much pride, you don't get him. Okay, Chelsea get him, they win the league. Yeah. I mean, how many times can this happen?
What's back from Barcelona? What Fabregas, Nasri, Van Persie, Adebayor, all left the clubs for rivals, effectively.
Let's do the list. Almunia, I can't believe we even had him for a game, let alone 5, 6, 7 years. Sanya, I liked, went to City, forget him. Silvestre, can't believe it. Gallas, nonsense. Clichy, I liked, went to City, forget him. Theo Walcott took the 14 shirt from Henry. Mess.
No, hang on a minute. That is not.
He wasn't a mess. Mess is harsh, man.
Don't have a go at going for taking the 14 shirt.
Yeah, Jokeris is the problem.
No one can take the 14 shirt. Like that ain't. That's not his fault.
It's not his fault. But when we talked about Gallas number 10, none of you lot blamed anyone else.
Yeah, but Walcott was better than Gallas for us.
No, Gallas can't take the 10
When we
shirt.
signed him at 16, he was no one. We gave him the greatest number we've.
To be fair, he took 32 at first, and then he.
Okay, fair. But he got. It felt like.
How do you know he took the 32 shirt first?
He's a football
No, but it's getting weird now. It's getting weird. It's not just like he's knowledgeable. It's weird. It's weird.
Can't you see the earpiece?
You got an earpiece? Fucking hell, it's getting weird.
It's a chip implanted.
Yeah. I'm not actually Turkish. Let me tell you. He's a 32 shirt first.
Behind me. Contemplating what's changed.
No, that ain't on him. Like, Gallas taking the 10 shirt is ridiculous. But not in 14. He's going to go,
I don't have
of course.
fun memories of Walcott.
Okay.
He was with us 13,
Really?
with us 13 years, scored 100 goals. He thought he's a striker. He played striker for.
That's the thing with Walcott. You never knew what he was. Is he a winger? Is he a striker?
On, 13 years we had him. We don't know what he was. Not good enough. Fabregas, love him. Then Nilsson didn't work out. Unfortunate, it is what it is. Nasri turned out to be what he is. Van Persie, snake. Adebayor, snake. So that's the starting lineup. Do you want to bring subs up?
Yeah,
let's have a look. I'm curious about the subs.
Let's see who we had on the bench. Fabianski, oh my God.
Actually was a better keeper than these reputational left.
Yeah, definitely. But his nickname was just too good.
Yeah.
Diaby, unfortunate. Colo, legend. Carlos Vela, didn't work out.
Colo Touré also left for our rival, by the way. Huh? He went to City.
He did. But you see, Colo leaving us felt like how Silvestre left you. He done what he needed to do for us, and it was time. So on your way. Good luck. Nicholas Bentner, that guy used to think he's going to be Messi and Ronaldo. Do you remember some of his quotes?
Yeah, he was mad.
I'm as good as...
God.
And I used to kill me, Bender, honestly.
Underrated, Adebayor, underrated, I thought. I know...
No, I don't mind Adebayor.
Right.
Yeah.
And Alex Song, again, you didn't realise how good a player he would come as well.
Adebayor, for me, was kind of a laugh. In my opinion, I always just kind of laughed at him. Like, he was all over the... Remember when the whole Emirates booed him or whatever, and he had to come off?
He came on and then came off.
He was just kind of all over the place, man. He had his highs, he had his lows. He was okay.
Can I do our subs bench? No, I've got nothing bad to say about most of those players apart from
he said I'd love
Modric.
it. The clips are ready.
I don't know who...
So please.
You want me to go through the team? Right, Gomes an absolute shambles of a goalkeeper. So honestly, when we're playing away at Stoke, because they were doing Rory Delap throws and the corners went in, he started crying.
I remember, was it Di Maria who shot it and it went through his
I know, it's just a game of football. He's like crying. Like Gallas cried because he thought that the title was over. He cried because it's a face Rory Delap's throwing.
Hey, those days, that was scary, man.
Gomez knew in 15 years Flav is going to be ripping me to shreds.
I feel a bit bad actually.
So that's why he was crying.
Do you?
Yeah, no, I feel a bit bad. He was a nice guy. Chorluka was...
You just kept hutting.
Yeah, I'm not talking about that. He headbutted his dad once. In that game, he passes back to, I think it's Adebayor for their third goal. Alan Hutton Did win the League Cup in his third game for Spurs, which is something.
Legend.
Woodgate completely injury ravaged. Torluca was, a battleship could turn faster than him. However, he did have a certain style about the way he played, which I appreciated. Asu Okotu did not understand or give.
He didn't even like football.
Yeah, he didn't.
No, like we buy players and he's like, I don't know who that is.
He was, for a man that didn't like football, he was good.
He was good. He was
solid.
good. The link up play between Okotu and Modric was something that was really important. David Bentley, haven't got a bad word to say about him. He's a legend. Jermaine Genius completely believed his own hype. However, like there was times like, and you'll know what this is like, right? They'll interview a player and they'll go, "Oh no, I think I've been playing well recently," and you're like, "What? Why do you think that?" Jermaine Genius would say that all the time. He's not been playing well. Why are you saying that in the interview? Like you're deluded. Yeah. But against Arsenal, he always showed up. To be fair, Huddleston again rated him very slow, but rated his distribution and technique was unreal. Yeah. Gareth Bale, we all know about Gareth Bale.
Modric.
He's, like I say, the best player I've ever seen play at Spurs. Just floated, just would find space. He'd be gone before the tackle came in. He was just, you knew we had something special. It's just a shame that we couldn't really match his ambition. We managed to pick him up. How we scouted him and no one else really wanted him. I don't know how that happened, but yeah, unreal. Subs, I don't know who that is.
Pavlyuchenko you missed.
Rubbish. he scored a goal. Like he could strike a ball, and it was all right. But he was brought in to replace Berbatov, and it was an impossible thing for him to do. I don't know who that is.
Sanchez.
21. C. Sanchez.
I don't know. C. Sanchez. Just say Carlos, man.
Yeah, but it might not be.
I don't know if Sanchez.
Carl. Charlie. It could be. I don't know who he is.
I think Carlos is more likely than
Charlie Sanchez.
Charlie Sanchez. Cyril. I don't know.
Cyril.
So I don't know who he is. I can't comment on him. I literally never even knew that person existed.
I've never heard of him.
Zakora obviously would run around a bit, but wasn't great. Aaron Lennon, absolute legend at Spurs. Not a bad word.
He destroyed Evra one time. Oh my god.
Yeah, on his day.
Destroyed Evra.
It was more around 2005-06. He was under Martin.
I even think the year you guys won Champions League, him and Bale on either side. Lennon with the slit eyes. Oh my, the slit eyebrows.
Yeah, he wasn't consistent enough with it. But when and his style again in the modern era might not have held up well, but he would just get to the byline and cross him.
I think Walcott had the consistency, but Lennon in his prime or his moments was the better winger.
Well, we used to sing "You're just a shit Aaron Lennon" to.
Yeah,
bro, he was just so quick. Honestly, he's so fast. He's like a blur. Like Walcott was like a perfect athlete. Lennon was like a little blur, man.
In and out.
Yeah.
He could actually control the ball with a dribble.
Yeah.
That was a big difference.
Just low center of gravity.
He like a little drifting cross the back post as well too.
Made his debut for Leeds at 16.
He used to always dribble like this.
With the Sterling.
Yeah, he was a little bit.
He was so fast though.
And then this is Gunter. Even his name. He was a Welsh fullback, though, to be fair. International Welsh fullback. Not at that stage.
Fraser Campbell. We sent him over to you to get Berbatov.
Mate, it was ridiculous. Imagine at the end of deadline day, right?
Yeah.
And Alex
like 30
Ferguson,
mil plus Fraser Campbell.
Alex Ferguson had literally bundled Berbatov into his boot to just get him out of Spurs. And we got £30 million in Fraser Campbell. Jesus Christ.
And then your favourite player right there.
Jamie O'Hara.
This guy's clickbaiting on YouTube now.
I enjoy.
He's a colleague.
Yeah, no. I enjoy Jamie O'Hara on TalkSport. I think he's great.
Yeah. What about the player?
Tell him we said hi.
He's very average. Very average as a player. Yeah. No.
Yeah.
This has been a very different episode of Rematch, man. Normally, we reminisce on the good times. We talk about legends of the game. I feel like I've just sat through about an hour of two football fans just ripping into every player they had except for Van Persie, Fabregas, Luka Modric, and Gareth Bale.
Okay, can we end with that? Those four, in their primes, rank them.
In their primes.
Bale,
Modric first.
Fabregas, and Van Persie.
Modric first.
Bale second, come on. It's the only thing I've got. Come on.
Okay, so we all agree Modric first. Okay,
Yeah,
I'll say Modric first.
I
think I
first.
Jumped the gun with Van
winner,
Persie.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say Modric, Van Persie's.
But Fabregas last. You know Fabregas was my first favorite player as a kid.
Nah,
Did Fabregas win the Champions League?
No, he
No,
didn't.
he never won the
Did he? No.
Champions
He won the World Cup.
Van
Van Persie, no.
He won the World Cup and the Euros.
Romero's won the World Cup. Was he better than Saliba?
Yeah, but Vladimir Smica has won the Champions League.
So is Traore.
I'm gonna go Modric, Fabregas, Van Persie, Bale.
The answer
You put
is
Fabregas over Van Persie?
Yeah, because the hate comes in to Van Persie.
oh yeah, it's good for engagement. Yeah.
Number 20 on his back.
The answer is obviously it's Luka Modric, Gareth Bale over the other two. Obviously,
What is the other two?
Fabregas and Van Persie.
Last, okay.
Last, okay.
We'll take it.
We end on a positive note, guys. Thank you so much for watching Rematch. Appreciate Turkish. Thank you to Flav for being here to reminisce on one of the most chaotic games in Premier League history. It's been myself, Lias Bouzidi, your host. Like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff, and we'll see you very, very soon on the next episode of Rematch. Peace.